All right, so I made it a plan to shoot these videos a little bit more consistently. Right now, I'm just on the iPhone setup just to get it off and get these thoughts off. The title of this video is going to be Choose Your Environment Before Your Environment Makes Choices for You. And I just finished having a conversation, and then it just like brought me into self reflection. So I just thought I'd throw the camera up real quick and, just speak my mind on that statement. Most recently, I moved to a different city. You know, the agency's still going after 3 years, and we're making some good progress. We've had like two good back-to-back months, and you know, I think what I want to get off on this video is just like because the question was asked like what are your thoughts on like vices and stuff like that, right? I said like everybody has them, but more than anything, it's like your environment is what's going to dictate those vices to be acceptable or not. Like we know as a person that what we should and what we shouldn't be doing. We can justify and give reasons as to why we do certain things and say that like we're not fully, let's say, addicted to these vices. We can stop at any time. And I was just doing some self reflection. There's some stuff that I've wanted to shed. But again, at times you keep returning to the environment that encourages those things. And it doesn't even have to be bad vices. It could be something as candy. Things that we know that we shouldn't be doing and like wouldn't better our future self. But we decide to do it because probably it's a comfort thing. Our environment is subconsciously shaping us to make these decisions as to you want to fit in, do this. This is what the popular kids are doing. So, I mean, it can't be that bad. And it's like you go through different phases in your life and you start to understand the person that you want to become and the things that you find to be acceptable and whatnot, right? So, again, I don't think anybody's perfect, you know. I think everybody strives for perfection, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, whatever that may be for you. Everybody's striving for something, right? And at different phases of your life, you change who you are, who you want to be, based on the situations and the environments that you're in, you know? And I've always been like in tune with this from a very young age. But again, like I don't know everything. So it's like you go through these different phases trying to figure yourself out. And I think that's what makes the journey of life so great. And I think the reason why I talk like this and I talk so optimistically, because I feel like anything is possible that you set your mind to, you know, from playing basketball, trying to make the high school team, trying to go to university. Like you stack up these wins that, you knew there were some obstacles against you. Getting into university, had to do a year of college just to get my grades right. But the goal was set on playing university basketball. And I think that's kind of, there's just the mentality that I've adopted for pretty much my whole life, like ever since I would say 2007 up until now. And, obviously there's some things that I wish didn't happen, and there's more things that I wish would happen. But I think even just after this conversation that we just had, I think it's so important to constantly reflect, you know? And most recently, when Kev moved down here as well, like he's just been pushing me to go to church. And I always thought like I was, in tune with the higher power and stuff like that. But, it's like almost like, you should be doing this or giving more attention to something. And sometimes you need a push. Sometimes you need reminders, constant reminders of kind of like where you're at and where you're trying to go. And it's up to you to ultimately make the decisions, that you feel is gonna best suit and benefit your future self, you know? Sometimes I think people get too hard on themselves, and I'm not saying that in a way where I have everything figured out, but I think it's just constant reflection and just who are you trying to become, and accepting that not everything, not everybody, not every environment is going to understand that, because they're not understanding your vision. They don't understand where you're trying to go. They don't understand where you came from, and the pain and suffering and the trials and tribulations that you had to go through in order to get to this point today, you know? And even hearing just, again, Kev talk about how like free he feels and being here. Obviously, there's not as many restrictions compared to, you know, being at home with your parents and stuff. And now you get to explore a little bit of the things that you like and you don't like, because there's no real immediate repercussion from like authorities, aka your parents, right? And we were just talking about like how your environment will shape you before you can shape your environment and change your environment. You know, you go to a new environment, let's say it's high school, university, you have to adapt to the program that they program you with. If you don't, there's consequences. You either get kicked out of school, you get suspended, something suffers that, you know, ruins what the ultimate goal was for in that situation, you know? You hear about people talking about small-minded people that grew up in a small time and all they know is like a certain way of life. Then you go to a bigger city with people who are more open-minded, and you get exposed to new possibilities in life that you never thought was possible. So I don't want to make this video too long-winded, but I think I want to make these just like random videos that almost like video diaries on just conversations that I've had and I'm having, not even with people, but also with myself, and just share with you kind of the thought process in different stages and different journey. I think it's going to be cool to see in a few years when you look back at these videos, seeing where your mind is. It's now 2025, you know. In 2030, I might not be thinking and saying these same things, but, you know, the goal is just to keep going on a path of straight, not straightened, you know. You're not going for perfection, but you're going for effort. You're going for consistency. And with that, you start to get shaped and formed into the person that you want to be. So whoever's in a situation where you feel as though your environment is not beneficial to what your goals are, you know, maybe people don't understand your vision or the path or can relate to kind of how you view your world, you know, maybe it's time to get up and relocate, you know, because if you see the same four walls every day, all you know is the same four walls. So, you know, change your environment before your environment changes you. And I hope you guys are having a blessed Sunday. I'll see you guys soon.